Ladies and gentlemen, there's a strange and profound truth about life that we rarely stop to consider. The fact that we are remembered. You might think your actions fade into nothingness, that people move on, that the world forgets. But that isn't true. The world has a remarkable memory. People remember. And they remember you, sometimes more than you'd ever dare to imagine. They remember when you were courageous. We live in an age where courage has become almost subversive. People retreat into comfort, conformity, and safety. But when you see someone stand up straight with their shoulders back, as I've said before, something inside you awakens. They remember when you told the truth. Truth cuts through the fog of deception like a beam of light. And when you speak it, especially when it costs you something, people remember. They remember your kindness. Now, kindness isn't weakness. It's not naïve. True kindness is strength under control. When you help someone who is lost or broken or afraid, even in a small way, that moment carved itself into their soul. Hey, remember your struggle. People remember your struggle more than your success. When you fell and got back up, when you kept walking through the darkness, that's when you became a living symbol of what's possible. They remember your love. Love. Not the sentimental, soft sort, but the deep, responsible, self-sacrificing kind. That's unforgettable. People remember courage because it stands apart from almost everything else in life. In a world where most people shrink from discomfort, where they lower their eyes to avoid confrontation and trade authenticity for approval, an act of courage shines like a flare in the dark. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be as simple as someone who speaks honestly when silence would be easier, or someone who keeps moving forward after being humiliated or hurt. The point is that courage breaks the pattern of fear, and when it does, everyone who witnesses it feels it somewhere deep inside. It reminds them that bravery is still possible, that there is still strength in the human spirit. Courage is not arrogance or recklessness. It's not about pretending you're invincible. It's the act of acknowledging your fear and moving forward anyway, precisely because something more important is at stake. Truth, integrity, love, or responsibility. Every time you do that, you take a stand against chaos itself. And when people see that, when they see you facing what terrifies you without collapsing, it leaves a mark on their soul. They might not say anything, but they will remember the way you stood when it would have been easier to kneel. Think of the people who have influenced you most. Were they the loudest? The most popular? Probably not. They were the ones who acted with quiet conviction. The teacher who refused to give up on you when you were drifting. The friend who told you a hard truth because it was the right thing to do. The parent who held the family together when everything seemed to fall apart. That's courage. The willingness to confront suffering without resentment and without deceit. When you are courageous, you give others permission to be brave. You show them that fear is survivable, that it can be faced and mastered. That's why courage is unforgettable. It calls people upward. It points toward a higher mode of being. One where truth is worth more than comfort, and integrity weighs more than approval. So when you stand up straight and face the unknown, when you act with courage despite trembling hands and uncertainty, understand this: people will not forget. They'll remember you as the one who dared to face the storm. Truth has a strange and powerful quality. It refuses to die. You can bury it under lies, ignore it, mock it, or twist it for convenience, but it waits. And when someone finally dares to speak it, especially when it costs them something, that moment becomes unforgettable. People might resist it at first. They might roll their eyes or even turn against you. But deep down, something inside them recognizes that what they've heard is real. That recognition lingers. It unsettles them. It grows roots. And one day, when the fog of denial lifts, they'll remember the person who told the truth when everyone else stayed silent. Speaking the truth isn't about being cruel or self-righteous. It's about aligning your words with reality, refusing to participate in deception even when that deception makes life easier. Lies always seem to offer a shortcut to comfort, to approval, to safety. But they corrode everything they touch. They make you weak. They make the world worse. When you lie, you distort not only the truth, but also your own soul. When you tell the truth, you restore integrity to yourself and to the world around you. That's why truth tellers are remembered, because they bring order out of chaos, even when the cost is personal pain. Every culture, every faith, every moral tradition places truth at the center of its values, and for good reason. The entire structure of trust, society, and human connection depends on it. When you speak truthfully, you become reliable. People know that your words mean something. You might not always say what they want to hear, but they will know that what you say matters. Over time, that kind of honesty earns something far more valuable than comfort. It earns respect, even reverence. It takes immense courage to be truthful. It means standing alone sometimes, losing friends, or being misunderstood. But the alternative, living behind a mask, is far worse, because when you lie, people might like you, but they don't really know you. And when they can't know you, they can't remember you. Truth is what makes you real in the eyes of others. So speak it gently, bravely, and consistently. People may resist you now, but one day they'll look back and realize that you were the one who refused to bend reality for comfort. And for that, they'll never forget you. Kindness is one of those forces that seems small on the surface but carries immense power. It doesn't demand attention, it doesn't announce itself, and yet it leaves a lasting imprint on everyone it touches. True kindness isn't about being agreeable or soft, it's about choosing compassion even when the world has given you every reason to be bitter. It's strength under control, a deliberate decision to care in a world that too often rewards cruelty or indifference. People remember kindness because it speaks to something ancient and sacred within them, something that still believes goodness is possible. Sometimes it's a simple gesture, a few kind words spoken when someone is breaking inside, a moment of patience when frustration would have been easier, a quiet act of generosity that goes unnoticed by everyone except the one who needed it most. You might forget that moment in a day or two, but the person you helped won't. For them, your kindness becomes a turning point, a small light that proves not everyone has turned cold. That's the strange beauty of kindness. You never really know how far it travels. Kindness doesn't mean weakness. It often takes more courage to be gentle than to be hard. Anyone can lash out, anyone can seek revenge or assert power, but to remain kind when you're wounded or tired or disappointed. That's real strength. It's the ability to choose love over resentment, to resist the easy slide into cynicism. And that choice, repeated again and again, builds a person of tremendous character. People don't remember the exact words you said or the precise things you did. What they remember is how you made them feel, whether they felt seen, respected, and valued in your presence. That's the quiet legacy of kindness. It doesn't carve monuments or headlines, but it carves hearts. Years later, someone might not recall your name, but they'll remember that for a moment they felt safe because of you. The world is often harsh and unforgiving, and that's exactly why kindness matters so much. It's rebellion in its purest form, a refusal to let cruelty define us. When you show kindness, you remind people, even briefly, that humanity still exists, and that memory, however faint, stays with them forever. Resilience is one of the most remarkable human qualities because it transforms suffering into strength. People remember your resilience not because it makes you flawless, but because it makes you real. When you stumble, when life knocks you down and you rise again, you embody something universal. The story of endurance that lies at the core of every human being. We all face chaos, loss, disappointment, and fear. To see someone endure those things without surrendering becomes a living reminder that survival is possible, that there is a way through the darkness even when it feels endless. Resilience isn't about pretending you're unhurt. It's about acknowledging the pain and choosing to keep moving despite it. It's persistence in the face of despair. The refusal to let tragedy define who you are. And that refusal, that quiet defiance, inspires others more deeply than success ever could. When people see you getting back up again and again, they see a mirror of their own potential. Your resilience becomes a story they carry with them, a source of strength when their own world begins to fall apart. The most resilient people aren't the ones who never break. They're the ones who learn to rebuild. They turn pain into wisdom, failure into understanding, and chaos into growth. That's what makes resilience unforgettable. It transforms suffering into meaning. Every scar tells a story not of defeat, but of endurance. And people remember those stories because they speak to hope. They show that even in the worst of circumstances, something in the human spirit remains unbroken. Resilience doesn't happen in an instant. It's built slowly, choice by choice, day after day. It comes from doing what's necessary even when you don't feel capable, from taking one more step when you're certain you can't. It's quiet, unseen, and often lonely, but it's also noble, because every act of endurance affirms life itself. It declares that despair will not have the final word. When you live with resilience, you teach others by example. You show them that it's possible to suffer and still keep your integrity intact. And long after the details of your struggle fade, people will remember that you stood your ground, that you endured, and that you refused to let darkness claim you. That kind of strength leaves a permanent mark.